All right, greetings, YouTube. So this is Beautiful Mind coming at you with another question. I got a question in. Let's take a look at it. So this question comes from Beautiful Mind Hollis. It says, list the following numbers in order from least to greatest, and it's multiple choice, right? So we want to choose the correct result. Actually, I would like to, I guess it should work. Well, I'd rather add a page. Okay, so we want to look at so we got a negative 3 by 2, negative 5 by 6, negative 2.2, and negative 5 over 9, right? Okay, this is a 9. All right. Now I think, so I'm gonna change all of these to decimals, okay? Now you could do it in your calculator, like you could say 3 divided by 2, you'll get a decimal. Now, if you did this in your calculator, you should get, so the negative 3 by 2, you'll get a negative 1.5. Now, let's see if we were doing that by hand. So we say we wanted to turn negative 3 over 2 to a decimal, okay? So if we're dividing the 2 into the 3, so then what we would do, this is the same as 2 into 3, right? The decimal is here. So how many 2's are in 3? Well, there's 1 2 in 3. 1 times 2 is 2, and then we subtract, we get a 1, okay? Notice the 1 is smaller than the 2, so we're in the clear. We add a 0 and bring it down. How many 2's are in 10? Well, there are 5. 5 times 2 is 10, subtract, and your remainder is 0, okay? Now, since the original was negative, our result is negative, so that's how we get the negative 1.5, okay? And let's go ahead and see that in the calculator. So, you know, in the calculator, you can just say 3 divided by 2. You got to keep in mind, though, and here, just to be a little more precise, since it's a negative 3 halves, we're going to say negative 3 over 2, all right? And we should get a negative 1.5. So a lot of people have trouble with the negatives. It takes some practice. It takes some getting used to. You just have to kind of work it. So we confirm the negative 1.5. Let's do negative 5 over 6. So if you're looking at negative 5, and this is going to be a negative there. If you do negative 5 over 6, then it just kind of falls to the 5 falls to the right. So it's going to be 6 into 5, okay? My decimal is here. And we know the result's going to be negative, okay? So just go ahead and put the negative there. Now notice the 5 is too small when you ask yourself how many 6's are in 5. So we need a larger number. So we're going to add a 0 here. How many 6's are in 50? Let's see, 6 times 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 6 times 9 would be 54. That's going to be too large. So then let's do 6 times 8. 8 times 6 is 48. Now I'm gonna do a shorthand. You can write it out like you have the 3 halves. I'm just gonna do a shorter hand. So there, I know that 8 times 6 is 48. And 50 minus 48 has a remainder of 2. So I put my remainder there, and then I'm going to add a 0. How many 6's are in 20? There are 3. 6 times 3 is 18. My remainder is 2. So then if you keep adding zeros, it's still going to be 3 each time. So that ends up being negative 0.83 bar. Okay, so that means what the bar means is that it continues to be 3, because if 6 times 3 is 18, you subtract, you get a remainder of 2, add a 0, it's going to keep being 3 over and over and over, okay, and it'll keep going because it's the same number. So the negative 5 over 6 as a decimal, it's going to be a negative 0.83 bar. Okay? So we're getting all of these to decimals, and then we're going to go from there. Now 2.2 is already a decimal, so we got a negative 2.2, and then 5 over 9. So then negative 5 over 9, so that means we're going to say the 9 into 5. We know the result's going to be negative. Our decimal is here. So notice the 5 is too small for the 9, so we add a 0. 9 times 5 is 45, and 6 is too much. So it'll be a 5 there. 9 times 5 is 45. Subtract, you get a remainder of 5, and you can add a 0. Then it's going to be the same thing, because 5, remainder of 5, add a 0. So we see that it's going to be the same thing over and over. So then that means we're going to have 0.5 bar, which means the 5 is repeating. So this last one is going to be a negative 0.5 bar. So now we're trying to put it in order from smallest to largest. So first let's start with the ones place, okay? So now when we look in the ones place, we see this is like a negative 1 because of this. This is like this is slightly to the left of 0. This is to the left of negative 2, and this is slightly to the left of 0. So then what that means, so if this is left of 2, if I were to put these on a number line, let's maybe make this one red. That one's going to be left of negative 2. Then these two is going to be left of 1. Nope. This is going to be by itself. This is going to be to the left of 1, so we'll make that one purple. And now the two blues are to the left of 0. So first you want to look at, that whole number. So now we can look at it like the red is negative 2, the purple is negative 1, and the blues are the zeros. So on a number line, trying to think of the simple way. So say this was 0, say this was negative 1, this was negative 2, this was negative 3, and then my positive 1 goes off to the right. But all of these numbers are between negative 3 and 0, okay? So I just made a makeshift number line. Now notice, now if I plot the points, right? Negative 2.2, if I start at 0, I got to go left. So if I start at 0, I go to negative 1, negative 2. So then negative 2.2 is about here. So here's negative 2.2. It's about kind of close to there, okay? Then if I do the purple, the negative 1.5, so if I start at 0, since I'm going negative, I'm going to the left. So here's my negative 1. So negative 1.5 is halfway between negative 1 and negative 2. So here's my negative 1.5, right about here. Okay? So then I have the two blues that's left. Okay? So then negative 8.3 bar. Okay? So if I start at 0, negative 1/2 is in the middle, so I'm to the left of negative 1/2, and I'm going to be about somewhere right in here. This is going to be my negative 0.83 bar. And then my last one, the negative 1/2, halfway between negative 1 and 0 is here, and this is my negative 0.5 bar. Okay? So now once you plot them on a number line, it's clear which is the smallest or largest. The smallest is on the far left, the largest is to the right. So then the order that we need to do looks like, so the negative 2.2, and just to kind of be consistent, I'll keep the colors. So then it looks like the order goes negative 2.2, right? Then the purple, which is 1/2, which is the negative 3/2. Negative 3 by 2, right? And then the 8.3 is the 5 over 6. So then we're going to say the negative 5 by 6, and then the negative 5 by 9. So the smallest is the red, the largest is the blue. So then now this is how I would have done it. Again, this is just with my background with, looking at math all these years. So this is what I would have gotten, and let's box it. Now, so I think you sent me your work, which is fantastic. So let's look at what you did. Now, the negative 3/2, I got the same thing. The only change I would make, this is negative 1.5. Negative 5/6, I got the same thing you did. This is a negative 0.83, again, bar. Just you got to be clear that the 3 is repeating. Negative 2.2, again, this is negative 2.2, right? Okay. And then the negative 5.9, again, this needs to be negative, and this. So the smallest, now, if without those negatives, I think your order would have been fine. The 0.5 bar and then the 0.83 bar. So without the negatives, what you had would have been fine. But when you plot it on the number line, you see that actually the far left is actually the 2.2. So this would have been the smallest. This would have been the first one. And then this would have been 2. And then this would have been 3. Then this would have been the furthest to the right. So the one to the far left would have been, so it just would have been the reverse of what you had basically. So I think something like this, maybe what's easier is just draw quick. Like first get them all into decimals. And then I think this number line, I like the number line idea. So get them all to the decimals so that it's clear. Create a number line and then plot them on the number line. So then the 2.2, you see it there. The 1/2, and let's kind of do it like this so it's clear. This is the negative 3/2. The 8.3 bar was the 5/6. This is the negative 5/6. And this was the negative 5/9. Okay? So then plot them on the number line. Then you just list them from left to right. And you can do it whether it's positive or negative. You just need to correctly plot it on the number line. Okay? So that's the only suggestions I would make with something like that. And then I think we have the result here. It should be, I think this is what we got. Yep. Here, let's just copy this. We're going to paste to compare. All right. So we got a result, negative 2.2, negative 3/2, negative 5/6, negative 5/9. Okay? Sorry, I'm just kind of playing around with some of the features.